Hello everyone. You know, I think Thomas Dolby is underappreciated. Certainly not by his fans, but by the many more people who heard his hit song She Blinded Me With Science, and then didn't listen any further. Listen, it was a good song for a hit, but it certainly was the least of it. Hello, I am Brianna, and this is The Least of It, the show where I talk about all of the bands that I feel got a raw deal and were whittled down to their hits by mainstream society. I find it weird that most people haven't heard the rest of Dolby's work, not even the rest of the album that song was on. I could give them the benefit of the doubt, as that song was not on his first album, The Golden Age of Wireless, until its first re-release, a while after She Blinded Me With Science became a hit single alongside its video. Who's Eddie Harmony? Thomas Morgan Robertson, aka Thomas Dolby, is an English musician and producer. It's worth noting that he had a hit single with his track Hyperactive in 1984 as well. He has also worked in production and as a session musician, as a technology entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, and as the music director for the TED Conference. And he is a professor of the arts at Johns Hopkins University. This guy keeps busy. The stage name Thomas Dolby was a nickname that he picked up from his friends in the 1970s. He was always messing around with keyboards and tapes, and so they called him Thomas Dolby after the audio noise reduction process of Dolby Laboratories. He's done a lot, and I could go on for hours, but why have so few people heard about his better work? Aside from the smooth pads and the crunchy notes, what really captivates me about his music is the subject matter that he writes about. Flying North was about an innocent childhood fear that flying in an airplane ran the risk of leaving the bonds of Earth. One of our submarines was about Thomas Dolby's late uncle who died in World War II, running routine maneuvers in a submarine, not even during war, and he found a pathetic nature in that kind of death, and so this song came to be. Tracks like those inspire me to write songs with more meaning behind them. I know that as a writer, most of us can get caught up in that continuous cycle of spouting a bunch of nonsense and a lot of love songs, and the reason we do that is because it's accessible, it's easy to write, we've all been there, but at the end of the day, music is an art form and it should be treated as such. You are allowed to take yourself seriously. The first place I ever heard his work when I was a kid was a VHS of Gate to the Mind's Eye that Mr. Dolby scored, the third installment of the Mind's Eye series, which was a new age slanted odyssey including a bunch of clips from a 1988 video called Computer Dreams, consisting primarily of clips and behind-the-scenes work of early computer graphics animation. This plays a small role in vaporwave aesthetics today, but that's gonna be an entirely different video. But I loved those videos even as a kid, and I owned the soundtracks to each one of them. The first and second were scored by James Reynolds and Jan Hammer respectively. Later on, I would discover Yellow Magic Orchestra. I was overjoyed to find that Dolby worked with one of their band members, Ryuichi Sakamoto, Japanese musician, singer, actor, composer, activist, writer, the list goes on. Everything Thomas collaborates on just swells with genius, and this was no different. The greatness of Thomas Dolby's work really comes through in everything that he works on. His sounds coming from so much equipment and software, it's so weird that any song that he's a part of, you can kind of peg that it's him by ear. But you totally can, and it's amazing, because he has made this entire sound of his own. Yet even still, there is so much variation to the stuff that he writes, and there's just so many different ethereal kind of atmospheric sounds that come from his music, and he can do pop hits, and he can do just all of these things. He's so friggin' amazing. He is, in my opinion, a master of composition and music, and I highly advise you go find some of his work and listen to it immediately. Be it on YouTube, some music app that you use, or just go buy his album like a decent human being. But if you at least give The Golden Age of Wireless an entire listen through that album, I think you're really gonna love it. As always, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section about any underappreciated artists that you would like to see me elaborate on further. I am Brianna, and this was The Least of It.